The orphan girl found shelter in an abandoned car. What she found inside made her cry. Hope ran barefoot down the dirt road, her feet bleeding against the stones. She couldn't see anything. She had never seen anything in her 9 years of life. But she could hear the screams behind her. "Get back here, you useless thing. When I catch you, you'll regret being born." Mrs. Patterson's voice cut through the night like a blade. Hope tripped on a root and fell, scraping her knees. She got up immediately. She couldn't stop. Not after what she had heard that afternoon. 3 hours earlier, hidden behind the kitchen door, Hope had heard the conversation that would change everything. $500 for the blind girl. It was an unknown man's voice. "My clients pay well for children with disabilities. They make more money on the streets. She eats too much for what she produces." Mrs. Patterson laughed. "You can take her tomorrow morning." Hope felt the world collapse. The woman who was supposed to care for her for 3 years was selling her like merchandise. Like a worthless object. She fled that same night, taking advantage of Mrs. Patterson falling asleep in front of the television with an empty bottle in her hand. Now, running through the darkness that was her constant companion, Hope used her other senses to survive. The smell of wet earth. The sound of crickets indicating open field. The cold wind against her face showing the direction. Her bare feet found asphalt. A road. She followed the edge, feeling with her hands extended in front. That's when her fingers touched cold metal. A car. Abandoned, by the smell of rust and accumulated dry leaves. Hope felt around until she found the rear door handle. She pulled. The door opened with a creak. She entered quickly and closed the door behind her, curling up in the back seat. Her heart beat so hard she was sure anyone miles away could hear it. She stayed silent, controlling her breathing, waiting. Minutes passed. No sound of pursuit. When she finally allowed herself to relax a little, Hope began to explore her refuge with her hands. The seat was leather, cracked with time, but surprisingly clean. There was no smell of mold or animals. Her hands found something on the seat beside her. A soft fabric. A blanket. Hope brought it close to her face and breathed deeply. The smell hit her like a punch in the chest. Lavender. Baby soap. Human warmth preserved in the fibers. It smelled like home. It smelled like something Hope had never experienced, but instinctively recognized. It smelled like love. Tears began to stream down her face before she could stop them. She continued exploring with trembling fingers. Under the blanket was a box. Inside the box, objects she couldn't immediately identify. Strange shapes. Thick paper with raised dots. Hope ran her fingers over the dots and froze. Braille. Someone had left Braille books inside that car. Books for a child who couldn't see. Her hands trembled as she continued searching. She found more things. A teddy bear with different textures on each part of its body, made especially for tactile stimulation. Granola bars. Water bottles. A thermal blanket. And then her fingers found something rectangular with buttons. An audio recorder. Hope knew these devices. At the orphanage, before being sent to Mrs. Patterson's house, one of the staff members used one to leave messages. With her heart racing, she pressed the play button. A female voice filled the car's silence. Soft. Gentle. Warm in a way Hope had never heard directed at her. "If you found this car, it means you need help. My name is Eleanor. 20 years ago, I was like you. A scared girl, alone, running from people who should have protected me." Hope stopped breathing. "I left this car here on purpose. With everything I wish I had found when I was in your place. Food, water, blankets, and something more important, hope." The voice paused. "If you're listening to this, please keep listening until the end. There are instructions that can save your life. But first, I need you to know something." Hope pressed the recorder against her chest. "You are not alone. You have never been alone. And from now on, if you want, you never will be again." Hope's tears turned into sobs. For the first time in 9 years, someone had prepared something especially for her. Someone had thought of her. Someone cared. She hugged the blanket that smelled like love and cried like she had never allowed herself to cry. They weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of something she couldn't name, but that warmed her chest in a completely new way. What Hope didn't know yet was that Eleanor wasn't just a kind stranger. What she didn't know was that this car held secrets connecting her past to a future she would never dare to imagine. And what she definitely didn't know was that Mrs. Patterson had already discovered where she had gone. If you're enjoying this story, subscribe to the channel now. Because what Hope is about to discover in the next few hours will completely change what you think about destiny, family, and the most unlikely places where love can be waiting. Hope woke up to the sound of birds. For a moment, she didn't know where she was. Then she felt the soft blanket against her face, the smell of lavender, and everything came back. The car. The recording. Eleanor. She was still holding the audio recorder pressed against her chest. She had fallen asleep listening to Eleanor's voice over and over, letting those gentle words fill the void she had carried for as long as she could remember. Now, with a clearer mind, Hope pressed play again. If you're listening to this in the morning, it means you survived the night. That's good. Now I need you to pay attention. Eleanor's voice continued. Under the driver's seat, there's a hidden compartment. You'll need to feel around until you find a small latch on the left side. Inside that compartment are important things. Hope carefully moved to the front seat. Her fingers searched under the seat until they found a metal protrusion. She pulled. The compartment opened. Inside were papers. Many papers. And something else. A cell phone. The phone has only one number saved. Eleanor continued in the recording. It's the number of a lawyer named Margaret Chun. She helped me 20 years ago and promised to help anyone I sent to her. Call that number and say exactly this, Eleanor sent me. Hope held the phone with trembling hands. She had never used a cell phone alone. I know you must be scared. I know it's hard to trust adults after everything you've been through. But Margaret is different. She saved my life. And now she can save yours. The recording stopped. Hope was silent for a long moment. Her fingers traced the phone buttons, trying to understand how it worked. Then she heard something that froze her blood. Voices. Distant, but approaching. She has to be around here. A blind girl can't go far. It was Mrs. Patterson. And she wasn't alone. $500 is too little for the trouble I'm going through. The voice of the man who had offered money for her. It'll be $700 now. Fine, fine. Just find her quickly. Hope curled up on the car floor, covering herself with the blanket. Her heart beat so hard she was sure they could hear it. The footsteps approached. Stopped. Look at this. An abandoned car. Hope stopped breathing. Nobody's lived here for years. Mrs. Patterson's voice. She wouldn't be able to find a car in the middle of nowhere. That's right. Let's continue down the road. The footsteps moved away. Hope waited 10 full minutes before allowing herself to breathe normally. With trembling fingers, she found the phone button and pressed it. A voice answered on the third ring. Margaret Chun, attorney. Eleanor sent me. Silence on the other end of the line. Dear, where are you? In a car. Abandoned. I don't know where. Can you describe anything around you? I can't. I can't see. I'm blind. Another silence. When Margaret spoke again, her voice had changed. Softer. More urgent. Listen, dear, I'm going to track this phone. It has GPS. Don't move. I'm coming to get you personally. There are people looking for me. A woman and a man. They want to sell me. Sell you. I heard them talking. $500. Because I'm blind. Margaret took a deep breath. What's your name, dear? Hope. Hope Williams. Hope heard the sound of keys being typed rapidly. Hope Williams, 9 years old, blind from birth, under the guardianship of Patricia Patterson for 3 years. Yes. My God. Margaret's voice trembled. I know your case. She stopped. Hope, don't move. No matter what happens, stay in that car. I'm 40 minutes away from you. I'll call the police too. Please. Please come quickly. I'm coming. The call ended. Hope hugged the blanket and waited. The minutes felt like hours. That's when her fingers found something she had missed the night before. In the blanket's side pocket, there was a paper envelope. Inside the envelope, a letter. In Braille. Hope's fingers trembled as she read the raised words. Dear child who found this refuge. My name is Eleanor, and 20 years ago I was you. A black girl alone, running from a home where I should have been loved, but only found pain. Hope continued reading. I was adopted at 4 by a family that wanted a child to display as a trophy of kindness. When they discovered I had learning difficulties, they returned me as if I were defective merchandise. I went through 7 homes in 3 years. In the last one, they planned to sell me for illegal domestic work. The next words made Hope freeze. I ran away and found this car by accident. Inside, there was nothing but loneliness. I slept here for 3 nights, hungry, cold, without hope. Until a lawyer named Margaret Chun found me while looking for another case and decided I deserved a chance. Hope could barely breathe. Margaret became my adoptive mother. She gave me education, love, a real home. Today I'm 30 years old, I'm a social worker, and I dedicate my life to creating safe shelters for runaway children. This car was my first project. The letter continued. I prepare each refuge thinking of specific children. This car was prepared for a blind child, because 3 years ago I discovered that a girl named Hope Williams was in danger. Hope felt the world spin. I tried to get you out of Patterson's house legally, but the system blocked me. So I prepared this car in this location, knowing that one day you might need to escape. I waited 3 years for you, Hope. Tears streamed down Hope's face without her being able to control them. If you're reading this, it means my plan worked. It means you're stronger than you imagine. And it means that soon I will finally meet the girl I saved in my heart long before saving her in the real world. The letter ended with one phrase. Welcome to the first day of your new life. With love, Eleanor. Hope hugged the letter against her chest, sobbing. Someone had waited for her. Someone had spent 3 years preparing a refuge specifically for her. Someone cared. The sound of a car approaching interrupted her thoughts. Hope froze. The footsteps weren't Patterson's. They were lighter. Faster. Hope? Hope Williams. A female voice. Different from Margaret. Younger. My name is Eleanor. Margaret called me. I'm here to take you home. Hope heard the car door open. A hand gently touched her shoulder. Hope, it's me. Eleanor. The voice was exactly like in the recording. Soft. Warm. Real. Hope couldn't contain herself. She threw her arms around Eleanor and cried. I read your letter. You waited for me. 3 years. Eleanor hugged her back tightly. Every day. And now you're here. The moment was interrupted by another car arriving. Quick footsteps. Eleanor. We have a problem. It was Margaret. Her voice was tense. Patricia Patterson filed a kidnapping complaint. She said Hope was taken by strangers. The police are looking for the girl as a victim. That's a lie. Hope grabbed Eleanor's hand. She wanted to sell me. I know, dear. Margaret approached. But Patterson has legal custody documents. If the police find you first, they'll return you to her. Eleanor stood up. They won't. Because I have proof. What proof? 3 years of documentation. Neighbor reports. Medical records showing malnutrition. Photographs of bruises. And most importantly, Eleanor took something from her pocket. Recordings of conversations between Patterson and buyers. A private investigator I hired got 5 different recordings over 2 years. Margaret took the pen drive. Why didn't you use this before? Because the system requires the child to be heard. And Hope never had a chance to speak. Patterson kept her isolated, without regular school, without contact with other children. Hope listened to everything in silence. 3 years. Eleanor had spent 3 years collecting evidence to save her. There's one more thing. Eleanor knelt in front of Hope. Dear, I need to ask you something important. The man who was going to buy you, would you recognize his voice? Yes. Deep voice. Southern accent. Called Mrs. Patterson Patty. Eleanor and Margaret exchanged looks. Victor Simmons. Margaret said the name as if it were poison. Child trafficker. The FBI has been after him for 5 years. And now we have a witness who can identify him. Eleanor squeezed Hope's hand. If you're willing, I'll do anything to never go back to that house. At that moment, another car appeared on the road. Hope heard and immediately recognized the sound of the engine. It's her. Mrs. Patterson. Eleanor acted quickly. Margaret, take Hope to your car. Now. And you. I'm going to give her exactly what she deserves. Margaret quickly guided Hope. As soon as they got in the car, Hope heard voices rising. Where is my foster daughter? Patterson's voice. You kidnapped her. Your foster daughter? Eleanor laughed without humor. The same one you were selling for $700 to Victor Simmons? Silence. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. And I have recordings proving it. 5 different conversations. You negotiating children like cattle. Patterson's voice changed. Lower. More dangerous. Who do you think you are? I'm Eleanor Chun, state social worker. And exactly 3 minutes ago, the federal police received all the recordings, all the documents, and the exact location of Victor Simmons. Hope heard sirens in the distance. You'll pay for this. Patterson growled. No. You'll pay. For Hope. For all the other children. For every life you destroyed. The sirens approached quickly. Cars stopped. Doors slammed. Authoritative voices shouting orders. Patricia Patterson, you're under arrest for child trafficking. Victor Simmons, you're under arrest for child exploitation and human trafficking. Hope heard the commotion. Patterson's screams denying everything. The handcuffs clicking. Then the door of Margaret's car opened. Eleanor got in. It's over, Hope. It's really over. Hope extended her hand until she found Eleanor's face. It was wet with tears. You're crying. I am. Because I spent 3 years dreaming of this moment. And it finally came. Margaret started the car. Where are we going? Eleanor held Hope's hand. Home. Hope felt something she had never felt before. It wasn't just relief. It wasn't just safety. It was belonging. 6 months later, Hope was sitting in the garden of a house she could finally call home. The adoption process had been quick. Margaret Chun, the lawyer who had saved Eleanor 20 years before, used all her connections to ensure Hope would never go back into the system. Eleanor became her mother. Tea is ready. Eleanor's voice came from the kitchen. With honey, the way you like it. Hope smiled. 6 months and Eleanor already knew every detail about her. Her favorite foods. The textures that calmed her. The sounds that scared her. Mom. It was the first time Hope used that word. Eleanor stopped in the middle of the garden, the cup trembling slightly in her hands. Yes, dear. Thank you for waiting for me. Eleanor sat beside her and intertwined their fingers. I would spend my whole life waiting if I had to. Patricia Patterson's trial had happened 2 months before. Eleanor's recordings were devastating. 5 different conversations negotiating children. 12 victims identified besides Hope. Patterson was sentenced to 35 years in prison. Victor Simmons received life imprisonment. The FBI discovered that his network had trafficked more than 200 children in 15 years. But for Hope, the real justice wasn't in the sentences. It was in the small moments. Eleanor reading Braille stories every night. Margaret visiting on Sundays with apple pie. The special school where Hope was finally learning, making friends, discovering she was smart. I have a surprise for you. Eleanor stood up. Come. She guided Hope to the car parked in the garage. The same car where everything had started. You brought it here? I couldn't leave it behind. This car saved both our lives. Eleanor opened the back door. But now it's going to save others. Hope felt the interior. It was different. More things. More blankets. More Braille books. I'm preparing new shelters. Eleanor explained. This car will go to a new location. With supplies for 6 months. And a recording of me explaining that Hope exists. You're going to keep saving children. We are. If you want to help. Hope felt her heart race. How? You're 9 years old, you're blind, and you survived things that most adults couldn't. Your story can inspire other children to run away, to seek help, to believe they deserve something better. Eleanor placed something in Hope's hands. An audio recorder. I want you to record a message. For the next child who finds one of my shelters. Hope held the recorder for a long moment. Then she pressed the record button. Hi. My name is Hope. I'm 9 years old and I'm blind. If you're listening to this, it means you're scared. I know what that's like. I spent my whole life scared. She took a deep breath. But I want you to know something. There's someone waiting for you. Maybe you don't know that person yet. Maybe she's looking for you right now. You just need to hold on a little longer. Tears streamed down, but her voice remained steady. I found my family in an abandoned car in the middle of nowhere. You'll find yours too. Don't give up. You deserve to be loved. Hope turned off the recorder and returned it to Eleanor. It's perfect. Eleanor hugged her. Absolutely perfect. That night, lying in her new bed, with sheets that smelled like lavender, Hope thought about all the children still running. All the girls and boys who at that exact moment were alone, scared, without hope. She had been one of them. Now she was someone who could help them. 1 year later, the Hope Refuge Foundation had established 23 safe points in 12 states. Each one equipped with supplies, instructions, and recordings of hope explaining that there was a way out of the darkness. 41 children were rescued in the first year. Hope met each one of them personally. And to each scared child who arrived, Hope said the same words Eleanor had said to her that first morning in the abandoned car. Welcome to the first day of your new life. Because sometimes hope isn't born in hospitals or churches. Sometimes it's born in the most unlikely places. An abandoned car on a dirt road. A recording left by a stranger. A blanket that smells like love. And sometimes, just sometimes, hope has a name. Her name was Hope. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to the channel and leave in the comments. Have you ever found hope where you least expected it? Turn on notifications so you don't miss any story. Because here we believe that everyone deserves a chance to be loved.